You know, I have been doing Palm Sunday since I was about 8 or 9 years old, which means I must have done this day about 60 times, maybe a little more. But I still love it, and I still don't think we get it right. The Palm Sunday of my childhood was a glorious day, for it was simply Palm Sunday. It was the entry into Jerusalem. It was the victorious entry. It was the beginning of the service. It was upbeat. Jesus was coming to claim his kingdom. All the powers, the political powers, the powers of oppression were about to be put down, and the true kingdom of God was to come into being. And we would sing Hosanna in the highest. I can still remember pieces of it. I grew up in a big church, and they had like 6 choirs, and for Palm Sunday they put all the choirs together, and so there were probably 60, 70 voices, and we each had different, each of the choirs had different parts. It was glorious. And I told somebody before we came in, the great procession around the church, the radiators stuck out probably about 12 inches. I think every single Sunday of my childhood, I banged into every single one of those. Every single time I went by as we processed gloriously around and around the church. And we laughed in great excitement. It was a wonderful day. All was right with God and the world. But you see, the 1950s were a time when everybody was going to show back up on Thursday. And then they were going to show back up on Friday. And so they could allow Palm Sunday to be Palm Sunday. We live in a world today where we want to rush everything forward, and where we can only eke out a certain amount of time for God in our busy lives. And so, with the liturgical renewal of the late 60s, the development of the new prayer book, I forget even what year the prayer book was done, but there was a great controversy. Palm Sunday was combined with Good Friday, because the church knew you cannot celebrate Easter without having witnessed Good Friday. You cannot have the glorious resurrection without also suffering the betrayal and crucifixion. You cannot have just the good stuff without having the hard stuff. And so in an effort to keep Holy Week holy, they combined the 2 services of Palm Sunday, the glorious upbeat service, with the Passion. And every priest that I know has struggled ever since to try to make this Sunday work. Because you see, we don't get it unless we start out with the glorious assumption that all is right in the world. When when we're marching, all Gloria, laud and honor, we're supposed to have an upbeat. All is good, all is successful, all is wonderful. And if we protect ourselves from the joy, we're also, of course, going to protect ourselves from the pain when we get to this gospel. This gospel is meant to upset and disturb us. This gospel is meant to bring us to the stark reality of the cruelness of this world, of the injustice in this world, of the pain in this world, whether it is our own pain or someone else's. As we were reading the gospel, the Passion, and I was contemplating the 2 parts, I thought, and as most of you know, my family's had way too much grief in the last few years. And I thought, it's like It's like the day that I came and worshiped here the first Sunday of Advent, and then I got the phone call from my brother that there was something serious wrong with my nephew. And of course he died just days later. Or it's like 2 years ago on Christmas Eve, as I was driving to do the first of the services, and I got a phone call from my sister-in-law that my brother was taken to the hospital. And after I left from this service, this Christmas Eve service, got the phone call from my nephew that he had died. Or just a few weeks ago, like the phone call that I got because my sister-in-law had been in the hospital, but she was doing better than we had expected. So I had not gone on Saturday, and I was going to go from here directly to the hospital. And I got a phone call from my nephew that she no longer could speak, and that the doctors had given her hours to days to live. The reality of our world is that in the midst of joy and of success and of lifting up in good things comes tragedy and pain and sorrow. And if we try to avoid the one, we can never experience the joy again. We must embrace betrayal, injustice, grief, and pain in order to rise again, to see the newness, the sacredness, the holiness, the wonderfulness of this life in this world. The church, year after year after year, goes through the same services, and while I've done them 60 sometimes, the church has done them 1,000 sometimes. Is it 1,000? Yeah. 2019 times. And we still struggle with the reality that pain and joy are both equal parts of life, and it is not that God inflicts pain and when we're lucky we have joy. It is that God will take our pain and God will redeem it and sanctify it and allow us to reach a deeper level of joy and of certainty and of resurrected life. But we must embrace and acknowledge and live with the pain in order to see that we are even now in the kingdom of God. As we were going through this, it struck me that towards the beginning, when we're at Maundy Thursday, the beginning of the Passion narrative, he says, "You will eat in the kingdom." And that eating is, of course, the institution of the Eucharist. And so, we eat so much. Every Sunday is a Maundy Thursday and an Easter. Every Sunday we gather, and Jesus, and we say, "Glory, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." Every single Sunday, we start out with Palm Sunday. "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And every single Sunday, we remember, put Christ back together into the center of our lives in the sacrament of the Eucharist, and are fed the food of the kingdom of God, so that we can experience the glory and the certainty and the hope and the joy of Easter, and be filled with that in order to go out into a world that usually is living closer to Good Friday than to Easter. And we can be the Easter people that reach out our hands to change pain into joy, to change hopelessness into hopefulness, to change injustice into justice, to change the world. And on this Palm Sunday especially, we need to remember the end of the prayer that I say during Lent. May God bless us with the foolishness to think we can change the world. Because all the world has is our foolish faith that we are living in God's kingdom now as well as in the future. And that you and I can make a difference in the world. That you and I can change other people's Good Fridays into Easters. That you and I can bring healing and hope and fullness of life to those who so desperately need it. Let us stand